Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Coin Lady channel. Here's the hook from an all-new piece on the crypto fundamentals site, XRP Ledger. An entertaining response from Ripple's centralized CTO to the cryptocurrency's opponents. And I haven't addressed this issue in a long time on the channel. But there will always be those who, for whatever reason, hold a strong dislike of XRP. They reject it on ideological grounds. It's absurd, of course, because after all Bitcoin has been mined, it's not like anybody is going to worry how it came into the wild, but it seems like they view XRP lack of mining as an original sin. The fact that it is already being utilized in the wild proves that it is irrelevant. But David Schwartz rebutted an earlier falsehood about XRP by insisting that the cryptocurrency is, in fact, centralized. And coming from one of the guys who constructed it, this is the kind of takedown I really enjoy. This is a good time, then? But before we get too far into this, let me clarify something. I come from a completely monetary free background. Nothing I say or write should be taken as recommendations to purchase or sell any security. I'm just a fan who occasionally posts videos to YouTube discussing random crypto-related things for kicks. Okay, then? Justin Bonds is one of the people out here. The following is what he said about himself on Twitter. Cyber Capital is Europe's oldest cryptocurrency fund, and he has been a full-time crypto researcher since 2014, as he said in his post. Nothing I say should be taken as financial guidance. Given that he has been working with cryptocurrencies professionally since 2014, his claim that he is ignorant of key facts about XRP is astonishing. So, on April 27, a few days ago, the following tweet was sent out: Bitcoin XRP, BNB, and XLM are not diffy. D represents decentralization, while PHI represents the financial sector. Before I go any farther, I just want to make a little observation. It all relies on how you define diffy as to what diffy actually is. In addition, there is a lot of ground to cover in this film, and I don't want to go in that direction. But, it's just one of those things like, what exactly is the technical definition of cryptocurrency? A decade ago, before the word cryptocurrency existed at all. What gives you the right to say that? So, is there a common understanding of what centralization means? We're having a hard time dealing with things like that, Decentralization, he says, is represented by the letter D, and finance, by the letter Phi. Yes. But what exactly is included in that? And he believes things that others do not agree with. Furthermore, he claimed in his article that BNB, XRP, and XLM are centralized because of their permissioned blockchain design. Complex financial products are beyond Bitcoin's capabilities. Then he listed several digital currencies that, in his opinion, are not legitimate. And so, once again, I read this and roll my eyes. It's one of those times when you literally have to sigh and do a facepalm. Then I saw that he's the CEO and creator of the company on his Twitter page. Just now, I mentioned Cyber Capital, the oldest cryptocurrency fund in Europe. Thus, he's exploiting investors by operating a fund while spreading false information about XRP. So I wrote back and asked if the people who invest in your fund mind that he's spreading false information or if they're willing to take the risk. He didn't answer me. And that's great, he has no obligation to do so. However, in my opinion, this is almost a certainty. He saw my post about the 177 individuals who liked it. Here's what former Ripple employee Matt Hamilton had to say in response. He emailed Justin Bonds, "I don't care how many times you say the XRP ledger is permissioned, it's not. It is not necessary to ask permission to use the XRP ledger. The platform is open to all traders. Anyone is welcome to join the network. No one can stop you from doing that because there is no governing body. All right, we get it. Moreover, as a developer, you don't have to ask permission from anyone to work on top of the XRP ledger. To do anything with it at all, approval from a higher authority is required if it is permissioned. So, he's completely wrong about everything. It is unlikely that he is unaware of this. But since I enjoy a good debate, I will provide his point to you. So who is giving authorization to the thousands of projects developing on the open source XRP ledger? Retweeted XRP community member and attorney Bill Morgan. And, naturally, Justin Bonds doesn't know the solution. And I said that it must be Ripple allowing all of this to happen. I was joking, of course, and he knew it. And Bill made a goofy face in response. You have to laugh, he urged. Hey, Matt, all those projects submitting requests for approval from Ripple, even the ones that use the XRP ledger covertly, like spin. And that's the truth. It's possible that Ripple is unaware of some of the companies working on top of the XRP blockchain. Amicus briefs filed in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit have even allowed David Schwartz to learn about companies he had never heard of before. He simply found it interesting. The many exciting applications of XRP and the XRP ledger. The article itself refers back to this discussion on November 30 to make Justin Bond's argument. Then, David Schwartz, CTO of Ripple and co-creator of XRP and the XRP ledger, provides a detailed rebuttal. So, relax. You'll see how Justin Bond's arguments completely collapse when we discuss David Schwartz. Contrary to what he claimed in his post, I always assumed that the centralization of Ripple was an open secret. So, I have to pause right there, after only one sentence. To him, Ripple and XRP are the same thing. There. Ripple itself is a centralized organization, of course. Incomprehensible, this decentralized business entity. Sure, I understand what a DAO is, but are there in fact decentralized businesses operating today? There doesn't seem to be any. How do you go about getting one officially recognized by the government of the United States or your own country? So right there he's confusing the two. That's the primary issue, but it shouldn't keep us up at night. Next, he claims that the members of the Ripple community have been deceived by company leaders. I mean, seriously, for him to claim that this is the official line of the Ripple executives is so rich. Either he's flat out lying or he has no idea what he's talking about. One of the two options fits the bill. Likewise, whatever it is, the situation is dire either way. And then there's Justin Bonds, who manages to convince them that XRP is decentralized even though it relies on nodes with special permissions that have been handpicked by the XRP Foundation. And this is just false. Multiple alternative UNL unique node lists exist. And therefore, they have an equivalent of Ripple's XRP Ledger Foundation. You're also free to do whatever the heck you want. You're free to tune into any other nodes in the network. There you have it. I believe he means XRP Ledger Foundation when he says XRP Foundation, therefore the argument that it's a permission system is plausible. Now he's not even denying that Ripple is the culprit. Honestly, I have no idea if he knows what he's talking about. This seems like a shaky plan at best. He goes on to explain that the UNL unique node list, a real list of trusted nodes managed by the Foundation, is to blame for all this deception and confusion. The consensus process excludes any nodes that are not on this whitelist. However, a node's UNL can be changed depending on whom it trusts. While proof of work and proof of stake both necessitate trust for consensus participation, this does not. Please remember that there is no need for trust in this scenario. What he is saying here is, therefore, completely false. Let me give it a shot. If I want to analyze this in detail, I'll have to pause after almost every syllable. I'd rather go on to where David Schwartz can tear him to shreds. Even though I'm fully aware of the error of my ways, it is still rather difficult for me to refrain from interrupting and interjecting at this point. And then he states that cryptographic proofs of positive incentives, work, or stake are what decentralized blockchains rely on instead. Both proof of work and proof of stake rely on this. Blockchains are a decentralized, permissionless, and trustworthy system. XRP is not a decentralized blockchain because it lacks these features. Rather, it is a permission federation. Because of this, stopping the system requires only 20% of these trustworthy validators. The ability to pick and choose who you put your faith in is not the same thing as trustlessness, especially when you consider that the lack of overlap between your chosen UNL and any of the three official UNLs could lead to you being split from the XRP ledger or, at the very least, unable to broadcast transactions. This is a cool function of the XRP ledger, so listen up. So that the entire system can't be taken over, validators' node lists should have some degree of overlap. Since you're essentially proposing a system of anarchy if anyone can join at any time and do whatever they please once they do so. you would be discussing the pointless topic of where does everything go. However, the same cannot be said for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin code might be altered to falsely claim the user Bitcoin. But if no one else in the network sees it that way, then it's irrelevant. Well, similarly here, when it comes to the idea of coming people to change XRP code, you can't just come in and spin up like a tons of nodes. Even validator nodes you can't just spin up more than already exist and try to hijack the network. The people using the network in good faith simply don't have to listen to you. Oh, you seem to be acting in bad faith, they say. We're not going to take your advice. He seems to think this is a negative aspect of the XRP ledger, despite the fact that it's essential to the system's functioning. What a moronic idea. This is a terrible plan. Don't do that. Imagine entering any blockchain and having everything work perfectly. Just enter the system and alter the code to read you have millions of Bitcoin, as I previously mentioned. If that is what people were made to hear and accept, you have effectively destroyed the Bitcoin network. However, this is not the case, and neither is it the case with the XRP ledger. Avoid being tricked by this idiot. Totally ridiculous. Then he repeats, this is not how cryptocurrencies work. A legitimate cryptocurrency, XRP is not. I can see why you could be confused. It's a minor yet significant design distinction. The top management of XRP management. Even his words are confusing me. Who is the chief executive officer of XRP, exactly? What is the person's name? Is it possible for me to run XRP? Executives behind XRP have been caught on record trying to mislead the SEC by arguing that the cryptocurrency is more decentralized than Bitcoin. They're confounding the issue and, by extension, misleading investors, as they are in the midst of a legal battle with the SEC about whether or not XRP is a security. Despite its open nature, XRP Ledger is not a permissionless network. Of course, keep in mind, this is all when he says it doesn't require special approval. Since there is no overarching permissions office, he remains silent on the matter. He doesn't give any indication of where you'd have to go. He's completely making this up. He continues, all of this is explained in the XRP manual. If other servers don't include your validator in their URL, they will ignore your validation message. In the consensus procedure, the servers that have faith in a validator will take into account the validator's proposals. Again, that's a feature that helps you avoid anarchy while still having a functional system. That is the whole point. And he's trying to paint a negative picture of what is, in fact, a great development. In addition, he claims that, unlike in proof-of-work and proof-of-stake systems, where the cost of attack reflects the block reward to miners and stakers, there are no incentives for maintaining a trustworthy validator. This premium over XRP is therefore closely correlated with the decentralization measure. This index of decentralization is worthless, as expected. Positive incentives in blockchains make it possible for disreputable parties to coordinate precisely. That XRP is decentralized, according to the block reward, depends on the assumption that dispersed parties will naturally coalesce around updated URL lists in the absence of the aforementioned incentive mechanisms. Considering that this was an intractable issue before the invention of blockchain technology, the claim is patently absurd. This isn't even conceivable because XRP doesn't have the necessary mechanisms. Proof of authority is implied if a cryptocurrency, like XRP, does not use a proof of work or proof of stake. That sounds like nonsense, like he's making stuff up about what XRP consensus mechanism is called and how the XRP ledger establishes its credibility. I stumbled upon Masari, which made a radical about-face in favor of XRP. Yes, please count me in. They label it as evidence of credibility, but it's not. When discussing the overlap of URL, this proof of association seems intuitive. It's just a case of proof by association, I guess. Well, I thought, that's not bad at all. And I hadn't seen it stated that way anywhere else before, but it's conceivable I've just been living under a rock. That, however, struck me as surprisingly intuitive and plausible. Therefore, evidence of causality. Now you know. And then Justin Bond argues XRP is taking advantage of naive investors who don't know the difference. Not to insult your intelligence, but to give investors more control. I guess he may have made a mistake there. With XRP astounding pre-mine of 99.8%, it's important to dispel the myths surrounding the cryptocurrency and move on from the role of founders' exit liquidity. To be honest, I have no idea what he's talking about there, considering all XRP was generated at the start. In that context, I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. But then he claims that because no new XRP is created and all new XRP in circulation must be purchased from the founders, it is one of the most unequal distributions in history. And that is also not accurate at all. 80 billion XRP were donated to Ripple by the project's developers. Basically, it's just not true in any way. He continues by saying that XRP is dependent on consensus-level trust. The premise of cryptocurrency is that trust is unnecessary. XRP is a wolf in sheep's clothing, appearing to be one thing while actually being another. Do not be fooled by false promises of investment returns. Rely on a distributed system. This is what he said, I see. This individual, once again, is managing a fund by collecting and investing client funds. How the holy hell did you? This makes me nervous because, if he's lying, I have no idea what else he might be lying about. How is he managing a fund if he's not lying? It's just a misunderstanding if someone on Twitter literally doesn't get it. Not a problem. He has been told repeatedly that his claims are untrue, but he continues to insist on them. Here then is David Schwartz's rebuttal to that argument. Also, I'll let you know that, to my knowledge, Justin Bonds has not responded to this. To further dismantle Justin Bonds' argument, here is what David Schwartz said. Proof of work was written by David Schwartz. The consensus of the network ensures that the rules of the blockchain are followed. No one has the ability to make exceptions to the rules. Censoring financial dealings is also impossible except for extremely brief intervals. XRP Ledger shares all these characteristics, however it does so in a unique way. It wouldn't matter if miners couldn't censor or were compensated in any way. As an attempt at decentralization, who did the mining? No one would have any particular incentive to care, either. I think I can better explain this if I rewind a little. The only thing the XRP ledger requires validators for is to address the issue of double spending. XRP ledger nodes, like those in other public blockchains, make their own decisions about which transactions are valid and what effect those transactions will have. Let me pause for a moment. I'm going to assume that the most of you are familiar with the double spend problem, but there are always skeptics that decide to investigate cryptocurrency. The question is what safeguards are in place if, for example, you own 10 XRP, or 10 Bitcoin, or 10 of any other cryptocurrency, and you try to send them all at once. There seems to be nothing stopping you from sending 10 XRP to one person as payment for one thing, and then sending the same 10 XRP to another person as payment for another thing. Because the system is useless if there isn't a way to stop users from abusing it in that way. The double spend issue is thus addressed by validators. Bitcoin does this via the proof of work mining process. Proof of association is used as XRP Ledger's consensus technique. So, according to David Schwartz, a double expenditure is the only place they require assistance. This is a very important point to make because the sequencing of transactions is all that's needed to prevent accidental double spending. Doesn't matter if you ask me. You know there could be other causes if you're merely an honest participant who gets that. The most glaring example is when validators are dispersed around the globe, making it difficult for data to be shared between them due to vast distances and long transmission times. Technically speaking, even if we use terms like real-time and instant, it can take longer for someone on the other side of the planet to receive a communication than for someone in the same room. Right. Therefore, it is clear to us. Because of this, validators located in different parts of the world may not be able to agree on the sequence in which transactions were processed. The good news is that the order of the transactions is completely irrelevant. We need just reach an agreement for your past to be set in stone. That's what you need to move forward, thus the order is immaterial. Even if you're a validator and you see a transaction with a certain order of orders, and the rest of the validators disagree with you, the order stands. Well, we didn't see it arrive in that order, they say. Nothing could care less. Because even if your transaction ended up in a different block, a different ledger, that doesn't mean much. How long do you think it will be before they shut? approximately 3-5 seconds. The fact that you have acted in good faith on the books is of no consequence. It makes no difference to anyone if the deals go through first or second. It's more important that we reach a consensus on the proper order. There you have it. I'm not sure about the pecking order. We need just reach consensus on the following order. Because of this, all you really need is some overlap. And if you get to 80%, the XRP ledger is coded so that you're good to go. That's good enough, I guess. Again, it doesn't matter which comes first. The fact that we can agree this was the directive is sufficient. There you have it. David Schwartz has reiterated that the only place they require assistance is in doubling their expenditures in order to prevent duplicate spending. If X and Y constitute an attempted double spend, it is sufficient for all parties to agree on a transaction order. It is not hard to come to an agreement on the global transaction order if we all agree that X takes precedence and that Y has no available cash. Finance is just a bunch of numbers. You can easily arrange them in ascending or descending order, and XBL uses consensus to reach agreements on which transactions to execute collectively. This is elementary in nature. If a deal is flawless, every honest party involved will want to make it official. There's no harm in waiting till the next round if it needs further work. Only one issue remains. When bad actors pollute the consensus process with their own activity, it becomes more difficult for good nodes to reach a consensus on which transactions to include and which to delay. That's the one and only use for a Unix network license. As for how this relates to decentralization, it doesn't. Systems can benefit from proof-of-work verification. My apologies, proof-of-work schemes. Put the decision on whether a given transaction belongs in this block or the next one in the hands of a single individual. This is determined via XRP ledger's use of consensus. Being on a unique node list does not grant you any additional authority or benefits. In most cases, it is impossible to know whether or not your audience is paying attention. Nodes will always attempt to reach a consensus with validators on their UNL, but if they can't, they won't. Again, I appreciate how thoroughly he dismantles Justin Bond's claim that the UNL and the overlap determine whether or not the XRP ledger is centralized. Actually, the opposite is true. You can see him demolish this piece of art. Of course, as I've already mentioned, I miss Justin Bond's response to all this. Even now, he continues to notice the same things. Therefore, I conclude that he only wishes to make false statements. What he said about XRP seems like he really wants it to be true, but it's not. And he keeps on repeating it. And to me, that's just being dishonest with one's intelligence. To my eyes, it appears that way. David Schwartz continues by saying, and while nodes strive to agree with validators on the UNL, if they can't, they can't. No node will adopt or agree to an untrue stance simply because it was suggested by another node on its UNL. You aim for consensus with truthful nodes, but you'll never knowingly adopt a dishonest stance. Thus, XRP becomes a bargain. Neither proof of labor nor proof of investment is required for payment. Because no one individual has a monopoly on the distribution of rewards or on the management of transaction volumes, I believe this improves decentralization. The things that Justin Bond is claiming are bad regarding XRP ledger and purportedly making it centralized, and he's not simply wrong about them. First of all, this, of course, again, doesn't make it centralized, but, due to its lightning-fast transaction times and near-zero fees, XRP is now the greatest cryptocurrency in the world for payments. It's not even a penny's worth. Proof of work or proof of stake can be used, but the opposite is also true. But he merely argues that it's the same old stupid argument everyone makes. All XRP is generated at the outset, and the technology makes no use of either proof of work or proof of stake. Which brings us to the first sin. In essence, it's an argument that doesn't hold water. Oh, one more thing, David Schwartz says. This is the only reason validators are required for XRP. We use them to other uses as well. While they're useful for avoiding unintentional forks, they present no difficulty for planned ones. If you're up for forking. So, there you have it. These are only ideas. Plus, when I see things like this, it's times like this. I'm glad I have a public forum like my YouTube channel to bring this up and debunk these ridiculous claims. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, if I had any money invested with this guy and then I came across him writing some bullshit made up BS things like this, I'd lose a lot of faith in him. If I were his client, I'd lose a lot of faith in him right away for not knowing something as fundamental as this. Sorry, I had to. No, I don't give out financial advice. Nothing I say or write should be used as a basis for making financial decisions. Please like and subscribe my channel if you enjoyed it.